I'm Paul Gatling with the Northwest Arkansas Business Journal. A Fayetteville startup plans to invest $31 million in a new manufacturing facility in the city to produce low-cost generic drugs. And joining me today to discuss is Dr. Peter Kohler. He's the CEO of that new company. It's called OurPharma. Dr. Kohler, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
So I've got to say, first of all, you retired at the end of last year from a long career as Vice Chancellor at UMS. Aren't you doing retirement wrong? Isn't the work supposed to be done?
I am. This is my second retirement. I got a gold watch the first time. I came here and worked at UMS Northwest and then retired after 10 years there.
Right.
So this is a nice challenge, though. Something we thought about then and now are able to do.
All right, well, let's talk about OurPharma. You had a big day a few days ago, your official groundbreaking, official announcement. This is a $31 million investment in the city. This is huge and really a project unlike anything going on in Arkansas right now.
And I think this is just the beginning. I mean, there is such a need for what we're going to do that it's up to us to be successful. And so I am very enthusiastic about this.
Right, and if you do it right, you think this is going to have a national impact in a few years.
Oh yeah. We already will start, of course, with the local needs, trying to fill those, and then move into the region. We already have hospitals, for example, in Oklahoma that our COO has talked to about using our supplies in the future. Not necessarily all of them, but there are at any given time 250 or more drugs that are not available. Now they come and go, but it's going to be important to keep up with those that are in greatest need.
Right. Let's talk about the location first. Why Fayetteville? I'm sure Mayor Jordan and Steve Clark will ask, why not Fayetteville, and rightfully so. But in terms of the kind of business you want to launch, and you may have other considered locations, why is Fayetteville the perfect fit for doing what you want to do?
Well, we looked at other states and other cities and so forth, and we looked at a lot of sites in Springdale, and I like the Springdale area. This particular site, though, fits our needs for a 10-year build-out. So we have almost 15 acres. We will start with a building of about 24,000 square feet, and over the next 10 years probably build out to about 150,000 square feet.
Okay, and you'll start that early next year? And
yes.
What's the construction timeline build out for that first building?
The construction document, these are complicated buildings. The gradients of air, the control of humidity, temperature, potential infectious agents are huge. So all sorts of safeguards have to be built in.
You're not just building it, putting it up and going to work.
This is not like an office
industry
building.
standards and regulations and hurdles you'll have to meet.
No, so making sure everything works together is a key feature of these buildings. And we have special clean rooms that will even be more, free of contamination than the outer building. So these are complicated buildings, and the architects and the construction company are working together to get the final details on the construction document.
Right. Why is this a pet project of yours versus simply retiring? What is the emphasis for
Well,
Pharma?
I think the backstory is I'm an endocrinologist by training. I'm a physician, and coming here, we were taking care of a number of the Marshallese in the area. They are legal migrants, so they tend not to be covered by Medicaid if they're not able to work. So we saw a lot of people in our clinic that were Marshallese, diabetic, and not covered by insurance. And it impressed on me how expensive some of the drugs they need to take really are. Now this is not just for the Marshallese, this is for everybody. Diabetes is an expanding problem in this country. Most of the Marshallese are type 2 diabetes. It doesn't require insulin. But those who do, the cost to them may be $400 plus a month. There are a few places that supply it less expensively than that. But by and large, this was the reason we were looking at this before. The other part of it is the hospitals need IV fluids, simple IV fluids, to do their surgery and do their injections and so forth. So we will be able to supply these hospitals and clinics with what they need for surgery. So far, I don't think anybody has had surgery canceled, but it's certainly been delayed and rescheduled.
Right. Initially, it sounds like those are the greatest areas of potential for the company. What about as you get on in the year 3 and year 5? What are some other areas you think might drive sales and drive growth of the company?
Well, we're going to start out with what's called compounding. On a larger scale, this is again for the IV fluids and injections. We will move to manufacturing later on. And so we're called a generic drug company that really implies the manufacturing part of that. We're going to be looking for drugs that are coming off patent and that can be produced less expensively. I mean, we are going to be a business. We have to make a profit, but there's a lot of room between making a profit enough to grow and being able to provide things at lower cost. This is what competition is supposed to do. Adam Smith would be proud. And really, I think we're going to have a niche there that will allow us to compete with the other people doing generic drugs. There's been a consolidation in the generic drug business, as you probably know. So when the little companies get started, it's easy for the big companies to buy them off at a price they can't refuse. You know?
They take notice of your groundbreaking the other day, I'm certain.
I'm certain they did. And one of the people often ask, what is your exit strategy? We don't have an exit strategy. We have a growth strategy. So that's what we intend to do, build out more and more as time permits. We'll be looking at drugs that are in short supply, that are too expensive. You know, I'm taking a statin, for example, as many, many people are these days. It came off patent over a year ago. I waited for the price to drop. It dropped a tiny bit, but not very much.
Right.
And there's a need for competition in these areas.
And not everybody can afford to wait if they
No.
choose to wait.
That's right.
Right.
And of course the prices get built in and the insurance companies pay them and then the insurance rates go up. So they're hidden costs to all of us in terms of what we do. So I think this is a badly needed area. And the reason more people don't get into it is the regulatory overload is great. The overhead is great. The FDA is becoming increasingly more stringent in their requirements, appropriately so, and many people just can't comply. Hospitals have done their own compounding previously. It's very difficult for them. You know, most hospitals would rather have patients in beds rather than a lab doing something. Cancer chemotherapy is another area that we'll be taking on that we think has great prospects because so much of it is more difficult to make. These are toxic compounds that have to be vented in special ways that are hard to do when you're in the middle of a hospital. So we'll be set up, I think, to take advantage of these particular areas.
Right, and it affects a lot of different areas, and something you told me the other day after the groundbreaking, this was a great day in so many different ways for a lot of people. Let's talk about the consumers, and let's talk about the impact this will have to consumers once you move past the initial stage of being primarily a compounding facility. How will this affect consumers? How will what will be the distribution for consumers to get these low-cost drugs?
We have some, I think, really interested people working with us and providing whatever our product list will be. We are not intending to go into retail ourselves. We'll be supplying the people who sell it to other people. So I think there are lots of things that the drugstores, the drug systems can't easily get that we'll be able to provide at a lower cost, which should be passed along to their individual consumers.
Right. And as you ramp up here, you've already got some of your top leadership in place on the ground floor. Who do you have? Who's working with you, and what expertise do they bring to the
Well, I think our real person of huge value is Ramona McLean, who's our Chief Operating Officer. She has been the head of the pharmacy at Washington Regional for many, many years. She knows all the people in the area, both regionally and nationally. She was head of the purchasing co-op, which is what is used often as the way drugs become distributed. And we have good contacts through her with a lot of people at the local level and nationally as well. Plus, we have great consultants who know very much what's going on in the national scene. One of our consultants, who's not known to be hyperbolic, said he thinks we're sitting on a gold mine. So that was
another gold mine in Northwest Arkansas is exactly what we need, right?
He's not somebody who's likely to say that unless he means it.
Right. Well, yeah, you take that to heart. So let's talk jobs. As you build your operations out, you've got a handful of management employees now. Over the next 7 years, over 100 jobs you think you'll be needing. So let's circle back around to Fayetteville. Will you have the access to the kind of workforce and employees you think you'll need in that time?
We will have good access to pharmacists. That's kind of the first line key group. These are highly compensated individuals, as you probably could imagine. Each pharmacist can supervise no more than 3 techs. Now the techs we will be training, the techs need really to be absolutely fastidious with regard to sterile technique and so forth. And they're going to be gowned up and gloved with a couple layers of gloves and so forth. We will be taking that training on ourselves. These people do not necessarily need a college education, but they certainly are welcome to have one. But we'll be able to do the training, we think, for these technicians who will be so key, particularly in the compounding area. And that's where we'll be starting. Once we get compounding up and running, we will be moving to manufacturing, which tends to be more automated. And again, we'll be looking for people trained in those areas, and the engineering aspect of that's going to be very important. You know, I have another interest in things like the EpiPen, which everybody's heard a lot about lately. And we have a collaboration that will be ongoing with the Department of Biomedical Engineering at the U of A on spring-loaded devices that can deliver things. There is no reason EpiPens should have been as expensive as they got to be. So we think there's a lot of opportunity in that kind of area, the interface between engineering and pharmacy.
Right. Well, certainly healthcare is an evolving industry, especially in this region with the new Arkansas Children's Hospital, Mercy expansion. Now this another example, OurPharma, with a $31 million investment in Fayetteville. Great stuff. We look forward to tracking the progress over the next few months.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Peter Kohler, he's the CEO of OurPharma in Fayetteville. I'm Paul Gatling. Thanks for watching.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.